Closed captioning for Lakeland Currents is supported by the Minnesota Department of Commerce, Telecommunications Access Minnesota, and Nisswa Tax Service. Nisswa Tax Service, tax preparation for businesses and individuals. Across from City Hall in Nisswa and online at nisswatax.com.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Lakeland Currents. We've all experienced the cost of energy from a personal level, from the high cost of gasoline to natural gas to fuel oil to our electric bills. But one of the costs that's a little more hidden is the cost of doing business with organizations and businesses that have to amortize or pass that cost on to us as customers. So tonight we're going to interview a group of people who are trying to do something about that at the regional level, keeping the cost down for us, the customer. And we're going to start our piece out with a look at what Annie Cook has found out about this topic.
You're on the computer, the lights are going, the vending machine is buzzing. They're all things burning electricity at work. But have no fear, because you can minimize their damage.
There are a lot of really great energy efficiencies that can happen within a structure that are related to conservation that save money, that help businesses save money.
Being a television station, we use a fair amount of electricity. But we're trying to help our bottom line and the planet by becoming more energy efficient. And that includes simple fixes like turning off your monitors when you're done for the day. Accomplishing this first step can be difficult, so get together a game plan to begin your company's conservation efforts.
Start with a group of 2 or 3 people in their organization, whether you're an 8-person staff or an 800-person staff, that can take this as a focus for the company.
If you've taken the small steps, there are big changes your company can make, but these advancements take cash.
Right now, cash is king, and it's difficult to come by for a lot of businesses. So what we've been trying to work on are the finance incentives and the financing pieces to help businesses find money.
With all this new technology, your company might be looking for the professionals to operate and maintain it.
We've been trying to make sure that we don't have a cart in front of the horse and that we are working with Central Lakes College. We've developed, Central Lakes College has been amazing and proactive at developing some very entry-level courses at this point.
But like most things in the field of energy efficiency, this too will grow. For Lakeland News at 10, I'm Annie Cook.
My esteemed guests this evening are stepping into the black goo, in a sense, because none of them are probably technically energy experts, but they all see the value of saving energy, passing those costs on to their customers. And so we're going to visit with them to see some of the things that they're doing, and I think we'll find out as we talk about this, these aren't always easy to figure out issues. Cheryl Lee Hills is the Executive Director of the Region 5 Planning Commission, and we'll come back and ask you what that is, Cheryl, just in a moment. Sarah Bach-Bergs is the grants writer and sustainability coordinator for Lakewood Health System, which has a hospital in Staples and a number of clinics in the neighboring communities. Reggie Clow is a co-owner of Clow Stamping. It's a stamping and manufacturing fabrication company that's been in business since 1970. I might add that Reggie's company has been known for a long time as a real innovator in the manufacturing sector. And Lakewood Health System is known, last year they won a national award for having one of the outstanding leadership team in the nation for hospitals.
Right.
So these are organizations that have been on the cutting edge of doing new things. Welcome to the show. And Cheryl, maybe we could start out with you and you could tell us what is the Region 5 Planning Commission. Even though I know it's been around a long time, there's probably a lot of people that don't know what it is.
It has been. Thank you, Ray, for having us on here tonight. You're right, we're not necessarily the experts, but we're grateful to be here to talk about this important topic. Region 5 Development Commission is a quasi-government that's been around since 1973, established through Minnesota state statute, and we serve 5 counties, Crow Wing, Cass, Morrison, Todd, Wadena, and we work primarily in economic development and transportation-related issues, but we also serve the region on regional critical issues, and recently, of course, the last few years, energy has been a topic that a lot of businesses are concerned about, so we became involved and try to do what we can to help.
It's probably amazing just to look and see how many businesses have gone to the wayside in the last year with this great recession that we're having. I know the manufacturing sector has been hit very, very hard, as have many different industries. What is the impetus for doing what you're doing here to try to get something going in the energy in this particular area, Region 5?
some of what you just mentioned, obviously. Region 5 we're a gap financer, there's several gap financers in the region, meaning we give out business loans for expansion and new operations. And we also try to maintain those loans and help those companies stay healthy so that they can obviously pay back that debt so that we can reissue it, reloan it to other new companies. And you're right, there have been a lot of companies that have struggled over the last couple of years. And so with a lot of other efforts and a lot of other focuses, energy has become one of those that we could potentially help companies understand how to stabilize their energy costs, and hopefully that means that they can continue to meet payroll and hopefully even expand where it's appropriate. So it was a survival technique in the beginning, and what we've learned over the last couple of years is that these are really good practices that should be implemented whether or not you're struggling and you're in a bad economic climate. So good lessons learned there.
Now, there are other regional commissions in Minnesota, and I think there's maybe an area or two where there aren't regional commissions right
Correct.
now. Are any of these other commissions doing what you're doing in the energy area?
Well, of course, Southwest Minnesota with the Ridge and the Wind was a leader in this area, and they've worked, that Southwest Regional Development Commission has worked closely with the Southwest Initiative Foundation on many wind initiatives and seabed projects, community-owned projects in the area of wind. And so they were the leaders, I would say, in the state, but there are several other regional development commissions who are finding ways to help not only businesses but communities and doing community-based projects, so helping local units of government, which, as we all know, those budgets have been cut as well, which reflects on us as taxpayers. And so we've worked hard at trying to find solutions for local units of government to use their funds wisely as well.
Now, I know you had some workshops where you tried to get people involved in this, and I would guess that's how you got Reggie and Sarah involved. How many people actually showed up for your workshops in your region?
We actually expanded our 5-county region, included 3 other counties. We did Aiken, Benton, and Mille Lacs counties, and we had over 300 participants at 6 different sessions that we hosted through that 8-county area. And Reggie and Sarah were participants at those sessions. And that was an effort for us to really listen to businesses, understand, well, twofold. One, we wanted to teach them about technologies that make good sense and they might want to consider, and when it's appropriate to consider alternative energy technologies after they've gone through their conservation efforts. But then we really wanted to listen to folks like Sarah and Reggie and to see what were their challenges, what were the hurdles and the obstacles in pursuing not only the conservation but the alternative energy, solar thermal, geothermal, small wind where it makes sense, those kinds of technologies. And so that was, I really was surprised that many businesses came out, but they're interested in how do we, make sure that we're maximizing the funds that they have, yeah.
Sarah, you are in Wadena County. I think the hospital is in Wadena County. At least I know the hospital at one time was the largest energy user for Todd Wadena Electric, the rural electric co-op over in that particular area. So hospitals are huge energy users just by the mere size of them and because of the technology. How did you decide to get involved with a project like this? And is this something that came from the management team at Lakewood, or is this something that came from your own personal interest?
A combination. I would say that management and administration has been interested in it from the get-go, and because healthcare is typically a large consumer of energy, I think that awareness has been there from the beginning, and how we go about fixing that problem, I think, has kind of been up in the air. And that's where some of the personal interest on my behalf came into the picture, and connecting with Cheryl on these sessions that she referred to, and really starting to network with some of the individuals in the region and getting information about where do we start and how do we start. And to be honest with you, it's been very grassroots. We're really starting from the ground up. And I think initially it started looking at wind power, solar power, what's the best way for us to tackle these energy consumption issues. But then I think we really realized we need to start from the bottom and work up. And so creating that foundation of establishing some of the very basic things. For example, we just recently approved to use cloth bags instead of plastic bags for trade shows and any patient interactions we have, that we might be giving them a packet of information. So it's really, like I said, very grassroots and starting from the very bottom and working up. And we have a plan or a proposal in place that kind of lays out a 1-year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan. The alternative energy piece of that is a little bit more long-term because we really need to get those foundation pieces in place before we approach those bigger projects.
It's pretty easy to see when you get the bill from the hospital what the doctor cost and what the medicine cost. But it really isn't easy to see what the energy costs are in facilities that are as large as hospitals in this area. When you're looking at this from a management perspective, have you been able to break down what energy costs are across the board, or you just look at electric bills and?
You know, we're in the process, and like I said, right now we're at the very beginning stages, and for example, we're in the process of setting up an environmental action committee. So we're really trying to get voices from across the whole facility, so senior services, the inpatient unit, people that are working on the floor, management. We're really trying to get a feel for what are the issues that exist within the facility, because like you said, I am by no means an expert in this, and there's just a passion that exists there. And I think that's an important point to really bring home for organizations and businesses throughout the state, is that there's a lot of information out there as it relates to alternative energy and sustainability practices. But I think the most important thing is that it's really the interest in the topic that can get you going. And I think that's where Lakewood Health System is at. We're at that stage where we know it's important, we know we need to do something about it, and now it's really getting a feel for what can we do, as well as networking with other organizations and businesses within the region to get a feel for what have other people done, so we don't have to recreate the wheel. So
now you have a number of buildings, I know, and I think you have about 850 employees, if I'm not mistaken. Correct. In that neighborhood.
Yep.
So it's a pretty big undertaking, isn't it, to start getting your hands around this whole thing?
And I think that's why I really emphasize the point of starting somewhere, because it's overwhelming, especially when you look at a larger business like that. I could talk for days and days about all of the ways that we may need to reduce our energy or be more sustainable. But I think, again, starting from the bottom and working up and really getting a feel for what are other businesses doing that they're having success with. And I think that's where we're at, is those starting blocks. So,
Reggie, Clow Stamping is located in Merrifield, and you are a stamping and fabrication company. Maybe you could just talk a little bit about what you do. What is your company?
Well, we make a lot of metal components, weldments, assemblies for OEMs, original equipment manufacturers. Our customers are mostly nationwide. It's a very competitive business. We've got competitors throughout the world as well as nationwide. Back in 2004, we decided we really needed to lean out. We needed to reduce our costs however we could, because there was an Asian faction at that time about, components going overseas and not coming back. So we dealt with that, and we hired some consultants to come in. We leaned out our operation. We tightened up our process. We reduced our cycle times. And then back in probably 08, summer of 08, we got with our power company. And we were made aware that there's some new lighting fixtures that are much more energy efficient. Took an investment on our part. We invested initially about $36,000 in new lighting fixtures, but there was a rebate of about $14,000. So with that being said, we realized about a $24,000 savings in electricity in that area. That was about 75,000 square feet. So our return on investment was about a year and a half.
Wow. That's
a pretty good return. Anytime you can get a return less than 3, it's a pretty good investment. Since then, we've done some other areas at Clow. I think total we've done about 90,000 square feet. We've got about another 90,000 square feet to do. But we're going to do it in sections. And again, initially there's an investment there on our part. So we like to you know, spread the cash flow out a little bit and do as we can, and I would expect this summer we'll complete the process.
So what is it you're doing in those 90,000 square feet? Are you reinsulating?
We're putting in energy efficient light fixtures that are up, you know,
Okay.
24, 28 feet in the air. On top of that, we not only save a lot of money on electricity, but we have a better light because of it. It's much more brilliant out there. Even our customers that come in, you know, 2 years ago versus today, they said, "What have you guys done out here?" Well, it's the light fixtures,
Wow.
among other things.
You know, there's a lot of people speculating that the cost of electricity maybe is going to double in 8 or 9 years. I mean, that's a lot that you hear out there. And a lot of us are going to have a hard time competing in the world if we can't come to grips with keeping those costs down. Have you looked into alternative things, or do they seem to be not practical?
We have, we've just actually started, but a lot of the things right now I think are not cost effective, like windmills and solar panels and stuff, but hopefully maybe there'll be some tax incentives for business to get involved in that, make it a little easier to make that investment. But we spend probably $400,000 to $500,000 a year in electricity.
Wow.
Everything we do out there
It's
runs on electricity.
Wow. Now, the hospital, I think, uses some natural gas, doesn't it? Or is it, you maybe don't know that.
I don't know.
It seemed to me that there was some natural gas involved.
We use a lot of gas too, and nitrogen for our lasers and stuff.
But it's interesting that Reggie brings up the lean manufacturing, because we actually have recently implemented that in the healthcare industry as well. We have a lean director that we've recently brought on board.
Does that mean you're not feeding them, or what does that mean?
That too.
That too, right. But her name is Tracy Hansen, and she really focuses on the process improvement, which I think is kind of a roundabout way at looking at green initiatives. And
Absolutely.
so we've also implemented the lean concept within our facility. So
Reggie brings up a good point, though, that alternatives may not be cost effective now, but Ray, to your point, we know that energy is going to be more expensive in the future, and by taking these companies, imposing them to do the energy efficiency things now, when the cost of energy does increase, they'll be in a great situation to install those alternatives and have them, meet capacity and be able to be as efficient as possible. I mean, it makes no sense to go straight towards the champagne bubbles of alternative energies until you do these conservation and look at the low-hanging fruit and then look at the alternatives as the payback becomes more realistic for businesses. But it will. I mean, solar electric, our electricity is too inexpensive right now. But solar thermal is a 3 to 5 year payback, and that's a lot more realistic. And geothermal, pending on the site, is a lot more, as a quicker payback. So I think he's absolutely right in that they're both starting in the right place, these companies. When Sarah undermines sort of that whole grassroots level, and that's where you're supposed to start, is to get those pieces in place so that when you do decide that solar or wind or geothermal or methane digesters can be cost effective because energy costs are increasing, then they're in a place where they can install them quickly and stay competitive and hopefully still sustain or stabilize their energy costs. So
Are you planning to get some success stories in your region and then try to go out and help promote this to other organizations that haven't gotten on board yet?
We really have. We brought on we collaborated with a group called Clean Energy Resource Teams. They're an arm of the University of Minnesota. We brought on a regional coordinator to work with Region 5 through the goals that businesses like Sarah and Reggie's have established, and trying to work on more projects and getting the word out, and bringing together utility companies, because they have great programs and they have a lot of incentives as well, but trying to get that message out and where to start and who to start, because it's really confusing. And I applaud these companies, and other companies in the region have done Madden's Resort and Fairview Office Park and lots of other great examples. They've done a great job of being role models in this area. But we want to meet with the utility companies to talk to them about how we can do more across their service territories and make sure that people are aware of what's available for resources. So, yeah.
It's Almost everything that I've read and the people I've worked with have said the most important thing you can do is the envelope and the lighting and the heating in your building before looking at any alternative kinds of things. Lakewood is pretty fortunate, and the building's only about 4 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So it's probably very energy efficient envelope. And your heating system, I would guess, is also very efficient. But a lot of the hospitals in our area are older. St. Joseph's in Brainerd, for example, is an older facility, and I'm not sure that they probably have a real tight, I really don't know, but I would guess that that's an area that they have to start working. But obviously the thing that's so discouraging for small businesses is the money it takes to do something. Are there programs that can help some of these businesses if they want to make that plunge into something new?
There are several programs, and we're working on developing more. But you know, that was an aha moment for me, Ray, when we went out and did these sessions, because that was my first assumption, because I always go straight to the end where the bullseye is and say it's got to be the money that's prohibiting these people, because they're all good people and they all want to save money too, right? But that wasn't it. The challenge was getting the information and trying to know the process and the path. I mean, they're running businesses. They're running hospitals and manufacturing companies, and for them to take the time or dedicate staff to take the time to figure this out, it was the hurdle for them to get down that, to go down that path. And so, I mean, you Google green and good Lord, I mean, it's a little overwhelming. And so I think that was the message that we heard clearly is that, yeah, get these incentives in place, get us some low interest loans that we can take out, get us some grants that we can look at through stimulus or other, you know, help us understand what is available, help us find some grant writers to pursue some of these projects, but mostly help us define the path, because there's not a one-stop shop to help somebody. These guys have to put some time and energy into it, and that's what we're really trying to focus on first, and work with our utility companies to do that. And we've got some great steps and strides in place to start that.
Now, you've brought someone on board to work in this area, right? And could you just talk a little bit about who that person is and what she does?
Angela Headley is her name, and I know she's met Sarah. I don't know if she's visited with Reggie yet, but she's come on board to actually be that conduit for communities and businesses who want to start down this path and understand. You know, we were fortunate with Lakewood, and both Klaus Stamping put together some sort of plan. Well, what if you don't even know how to do that? And you're thinking, what's first, what's second? How do I develop this plan? And maybe I don't have the resources to create it. So that is what Angela can go out and help people do. She's located out of our offices at Region 5 Development Commission. And those communities, either local units of government, sometimes they're like historical societies, like you're talking about, with very old buildings who are very confused at what to do first, because they want to preserve that structure without, so they're compromised. So then Angela's there to help them with that process, to understand what's first, what's second, where are the incentives. School districts have been very, very interested in not only how do we make our buildings more energy efficient, but where's that curriculum piece that we can add to start helping students get engaged in this industry that's becoming more and more popular, even with our colleges and our higher level institutions, educational institutions that are offering training for and careers in energy. And so school districts are becoming very interested, and that's another whole world. So it's that path that she's there to help with, yeah.
Reggie, are you looking at, when you get your lighting retrofitting done, are you looking at something else then? Are you looking at some new initiatives after that?
Well, we're not sure. I mean, we're going to see this lighting fixture to completion. A lot of our equipment runs on electricity. There's not a lot we can do with that. So that's a heavy user for us. We do have gas for air conditioning and heat. We are a pretty tight company out there building-wise, because we've got such a seal. We had to put in some air exchanges because every time somebody opened the door, it was like the Metrodome, you know. So I think we're, you know, some part of our building is fairly old, but the most recent additions have certainly been built with cheap energy in mind, and we'll continue doing that.
Sarah, what kind of new directions do you see your grassroots taking you to?
Well, kind of along the same lines that Reggie's talking about, I think it's a learning experience. And, you know, like I said, we have a proposal in place, but we're learning along the way. And, you know, some of those bigger alternative energy projects aren't financially feasible right now, but we're really taking this time frame until they are financially feasible to educate employees, educate the community, educate ourselves about what is that process, connect with people like our local development commission to say, hey, what kind of resources do you have? Who can we connect with? And so I think based upon that, it really is a learning experience, and we're just taking baby steps and doing one thing at a time to kind of, like I know I've said over and over, but just really build that foundation so when it does get to the point where some of those bigger alternative energy projects are more financially feasible in terms of an ROI, we can approach those with something in our back pockets. So
we looked at the idea of improving our lighting in the parking lot because we run 24 hours a day. So we looked at solar panel lighting, and it was just so expensive, we couldn't do it. But I think you got to push the envelope to find out what you can do.
Well, I think you're all to be commended for stepping into this arena, because it's absolutely going to make a difference in your businesses down the line. I don't think there's any question about that. And the people who are doing it now before those costs get so expensive are going to have a step up on everyone else. If people are interested in learning more about what you do, Cheryl, how do they find out?
Well, obviously we have a website, so that's region5.org, all spelled out, REGIONFIVE, and then we're located out of Staples, 411 us, or 218-894-3233 is where we can be located. And yeah, I encourage people to call, because more and more stuff goes on our website every day that we're learning, and we're trying to get the word out there to the region. So,
well, you're doing a great job, and appreciate you, Cheryl, Sarah, and Reggie, for being on the show tonight, and good luck in your ventures, and maybe we'll come back and talk about it in another year or so and see what you've done.
Thanks, Ray.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Ray.
A couple of announcements. This is our last show for the year. We're going to actually take the month of December off, and we're going to come back with a brand new show and a brand new time. On January 7th, we'll be coming back at 7:30 p.m. instead of 8 o'clock every other Thursday. And we'll be following some new program that's coming up on Lakeland Public Television. So we hope you'll tune in with us. Again, that's on January 7th. You've been watching Lakeland Currents, where we talk about what you talk about. I'm Ray Gildow. So long until January 7th.